Hey everyone, this is Allan Mckay and welcome to episode 39. I'm interviewing Alf Lavvold and we are talking about his new short film, Dawn of the Planet of the Zombies. And anyway, you get the idea. This is going to be really awesome. We get into a lot of really cool, really hands-on stuff to do with making a short film by yourself. Let's get in.
Welcome to the Allan Mckay podcast. Allan is an Emmy Award-winning visual effects artist and mentor to many leading industry experts. Listen in as Allan talks with other industry leaders in film, video games, and visual effects about their experience, lessons, and methodology. Allan will teach you pivotal advice to fast-track your career, better your skills, and reach your ultimate dream job. Check out the latest episodes on AllanMckay.com.
All right, I'm going to keep this intro really short. I want to get in and get started. This is a really cool episode, and I want to thank Alf for jumping on this. I've been following this short for a while. It just looks freaking cool, and the fact that one person is able to turn out an entire short film, it's a 3-minute short in the form of a trailer. It's really phenomenal, and it's been receiving so much attention and a lot of success. It's a Vimeo Staff Pick. And it deserves all of it. It looks really cool, and I'm really interested to see where Alf's career goes. So let's get in. One thing I'm just going to mention, it's a reminder that we have the Real reviews coming up. The first one with Todd Sheridan Perry, which will be, I think, on the 16th or 17th. I have to check, of June. I'm going to be sending out info soon. I've kind of had a sign-up list, which you can access at www.allanmckay.com/real review. So REEL review, one word. And I'm going to be firing out some emails later this week and getting everything organized. So this is going to be really cool, a chance to interact with us and get critiques on your work from people who typically do review people's reels and choose who gets hired for their teams. At the same time, you don't need to submit a reel if you just want to come and observe. There's a lot of really great info. You might be able to ask questions and other cool stuff. So I think this is going to be a lot of fun. That being said, let's dive in. Okay. Hey everyone, this is Allan Mckay. I'm here with Alf Lavvold. And I'm going to screw that up, but screw it, whatever. Let's just dive in. I mean, obviously you put out a short film, and I want to get into all that. I think it's going to be amazing, but I kind of figure it'd be great just to kind of start out with talking a bit about who you are and like what your background is. So if you want to give a quick intro.
Yeah, sure. Hi. So my name is Alf Lavvold, apparently. And I'm just, a 3D guy from Norway, interested in, a lot of aspects in, I guess, movie making in general. So I've been doing this for, I'm getting old. I've been doing this since I was about 14 years old. And
happy birthday, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. So, I'm just interested in the topic in general and, creating some cool things, and I'm really interested in watching movies and effects in general.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah.
And like Norway's 3D industry is pretty tiny, obviously. So
yeah.
Have you worked there your entire career, or have you been more someone move around?
Yeah, no, I've been working in the same company for 13 years.
Mm-hmm. And this is your
since
company,
the start. Yeah, it's my company with I run it with actually my best friends. We founded it just shortly after we were students, and we've just been working together ever since, really.
That's great. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And what's the type of work you guys typically do besides giant killer plants and?
Usually do a lot of commercials, obviously, but we also try to, do some feature film work. And we found the process, each time we do some movie stuff, we learn a lot of new things, and it's really cool. But primarily, we do a lot of TV commercials and illustration and whatever, really.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome, man. That's really cool. And everyone I've been talking to, especially the last couple of days, has just been blown away by what you've managed to put out. So I kind of figure we'll just start to shift the focus directly to that, because I've got 1,000 questions, and I'm sure you've been emailed with a lot of people asking 1,000 things. So maybe you can actually have a night off by putting this out to answer a lot of questions and not have to reply to so many emails. But yeah, I mean, first of all, like, what's the name of your short film?
Oh my God, do I have to pronounce it? It's a reason I call it, Dawn of the Stuff, because it's really just, a spoof kind of title, because I've always found the dawn of the planet of the zombies of the, fuck that. It's so crazy. So it just started out as a spoof logo, but it kind of stuck with the project, so I ended up using it. So for good and for worse, but I think it's it's just it kind of show off the premise of the trailer. It's just a spoof, funny thing,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But you'd be surprised. That's how some stuff happens, and suddenly you got Sharknado and Piranha and everything else. So yeah, but I mean, so I guess, like, what made you think of this in the first place? Like, where did this whole idea come from?
It just started out as, me doing some late night nerdy test stuff, learning new techniques and stuff. And the way in the project, I, wanted to get some kind of a product out of my tests. I just kept adding details and playing around with some shots and stuff. And I also... I've always been, frustrated about the fucking long render times on. It just kills creativity.
Yeah.
So I just stumbled upon this great GPU renderer called Redshift. I don't know if you heard about it.
Not really, but I'd love to hear more about it.
Yeah. I'm really no kind of technical person, so this kind of rendering engine just worked for me, and I found myself, producing a lot of stuff and actually got the shit rendered in, in minutes and not hours with, mental ray, because it's just, if you don't have a farm or some kind of stuff, you're just screwed when it comes to animation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was one of the things, trying out, GPU rendering and see how much, I could push the software and hardware and, get some really detailed shots up there. So, and afterwards it just kind of snowballed, really.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
So, yeah, it went from there.
So initially, you kind of just started out messing around doing more technical tests, and somewhere along the way you decided, okay, let's actually wrap this into a story and do something with it.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for wrapping that up. Got
So
some English.
you bought a GPU card, and you're like, okay, fuck it, I'll make a short film. Okay.
Yeah, basically. Thanks.
You're welcome. So...
Yeah.
But that's awesome. I mean, I do remember, like, at the beginning of my career, I was always obsessed with more the R&D, like trying to figure out, how do I make a photoreal ocean, or how do I make an explosion? And I always had a lot of, like, the guys I worked around who were like, why are you doing this? Like, why don't you go and make it into, like, a short? And for me, I'm like, I don't care about that. I just want to, once I've figured out how to do it, I wanted to move on. And but I think that's the thing, is that, you've got all these great concepts, and, like, why not take it and kind of, build it into something bigger, rather than it being just like a quick, YouTube, like, R&D thing or whatever, like, here's a crowd sim or whatever. So, I mean, I love that. I love that it kind of came from that, rather than, sitting down, like, I'm going to write a script and, okay, how do I go about doing the 3D? It's like completely backwards. It's more the VFX driving the idea behind it.
Yeah, really. I just wanted a kind of an end product, and that's pretty much the thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I'm just curious. I will pick your brain a little bit more about, I guess, the startup process, just because I mean, you've definitely managed to make something so polished and come together, like, so well. So I mean, I'm kind of curious just as to initially starting out, like, if you just want to give, like, a more of a basic overview of, you were doing some, like, R&D on certain things, and when did it kind of start to bridge into, okay, screw it, I'm going to devote the next half year of my life to craziness?
Yeah, if I knew it would take me a half year to make this shit back then, I would not have begun. But really, it started out with the helicopter crash at the end of the trailer.
So you started going backwards.
Yeah, basically. I just tried to, in the process, just fit in the pieces I was making on the way and kind of listen. Make it into kind of a coherent world, I guess. But yeah, basically it started out with the helicopter sequence, and I just fuck it, I'm gonna do some simulation stuff, and I'm really bad at simulation stuff because
Me too.
I'm really impatient. I really like to get stuff quick up and running.
That's right.
Like more of a kind of a previs or animatic phase, and getting the edit and roughing it out and delivering it on to the sim guys, sliding their sliders and waiting for 3 days to fucking have some fucking waves or something. But
yeah.
So deep respect for the sim guys, of course, but I just I wanted to create something fast, and as I said, I found myself, detailing up these shots I would normally do as a previs, low poly stuff and, basic detail to get the feel of the timing and the mood and all of that. I just continued really to just do all of the work myself, and I could actually do it with, the GPU render setup. So without the GPU setup, I would have never been able to do the project.
Yeah, that's amazing. I've got a buddy of mine, Kevin Margot. He's doing a short film Construct over with the Blur guys, and yeah, again, he's doing it all with V-Ray, but real time, and like it's pretty amazing what those guys managed to do. So I love it. Like I love that it's going that way because I do a lot of simulations, and obviously rendering and simulations are the two things that kind of completely cripple productivity because you're in the zone, and then you've got to step away, and that time where you're going to lose that momentum is so pivotal. So
yeah, that's I know I cannot do the sim stuff because I lose the whole joy with the project, I guess, because I had to get it on sim and wait and all of these kind of different versions on stuff.
So when did you start?
On the project or what? Start living?
It was 1981 or 80. Yes. What are you, 83? Yeah.
Yeah, 83. Yeah.
Yeah. No. When did you start on the short? We can talk about your baby photos and everything else later.
Yeah, I'll send them afterwards.
Sounds great.
Yeah. So I started back in late last year, something. I don't know the exact date, but about a half year ago, maybe 7 months or something, and I've been trying to get some work out in the progress, and I posted a lot of my work on my Vimeo page, and a lot of time lapses, and tried to really have this kind of an open production, I guess, to share the progress and maybe get to know some people, or so it's worked out very great. So I get a lot of good response in that way.
Yeah, that's great, man. And yeah, I mean, I came across it, I don't know, probably about a month ago. I saw some stuff and I was like, God damn, this is freaking amazing. And then
thank you.
Yeah, well, the more I saw of it, I'm just like, holy shit, this is one guy. And I'm like, all right, I want to be his buddy. But yeah, I was really blown away. So it's kind of cool that you actually managed to see it through as well, because I do see a lot of projects that kind of have that momentum that starts to build, and then after a while, people kind of give up or start to have a lot of doubt. And so I mean,
but that's been one of the hardest things, really, to keep the momentum, and because when you have worked with this kind of stuff for so long, at least for me, everything's tend to look like shit, and you're thinking, oh my God, what am I doing? And it's a really long process. So it's been quite a mind job to set small goals and keep the project going,
Yeah, actually, I'm kind of curious. I was going to ask this later, but like, I guess first of all, did you ever kind of hit any of those points of, wanting to give up or thinking that it isn't, going to be a success? Or
I would probably, have given up if I were, dead serious about the project. It's been more like a fun project.
That's great.
All along. If I, been more serious, or I have to do this deadline, or I have to have all of those things over me, I would have struggled a lot more, I think. But it's just a kind of a love and hate project, I guess. So yeah,
that's great. No, that's really good to hear. I mean, especially if you're passionate about it and you're not essentially loathing the project by the end of it, then that's great. And I'm curious about your process, because I mean, I'll just mention for anyone out there, like this, is it like 100% you, or like towards the end did you get any like help and support, or?
It's me. The project is based on being used to do a lot of previous work. I have a lot of basic assets, low poly assets. I based like buildings and stuff on, and then kind of built on top of it. But it's basically me. At the end of the project, I was contacted by these really cool guys from Sweden at a studio.
They're all cool.
At Stille Studio, and they proposed to shoot some live action footage for me on their awesome, fancy motion controlled rigs. And so I went, fuck yeah, and I went over to Sweden and basically gave them my camera data from Maya, and they matched it up and put this poor guy on this kind of MacGyver thingy they built with some hydraulic things and stuff, and matched out the animation of the Humvee and the animation of the camera, and match my shots basically.
Cool.
So I think it really improved on the quality, because I had this, fairly low poly soldier on top of the Humvee. So getting some live action in there, I think it really, pumped the quality up.
Yeah. And how did it feel for you, like, going from working on your short film to, kind of getting that backing and getting to actually go and do like a live action shoot, for you was a bit more of like a reality check, like, oh shit, like this is coming along,
Yeah, basically, yeah, that sums it up. It was, awesome being on a set and, being, solving this project on. I work in a tiny little basement at my home. I have a home office, and going out to Sweden with this, awesome big fancy studio with motion controlled rigs and a lot of guys running around and asking me, oh, what do we do now? And so it was an awesome experience, and they're just really great guys.
I love. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I also got a lot of interesting stuff coming up, and one thing is to maybe redo the sound. Some I cannot say where the things come from, but really pumped the quality, and through the project I made so many new contacts, including you. So
awesome.
So it's been great.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, it's definitely one of those things that if you have something that you're building, like everyone can get excited around, and you suddenly meet all these other people who, whether it's long term or short term, are able to help you. I've got a friend of mine. He's the animation director for Weta, and he started a short film years ago. And like when he first, him and his best friend like put together this short, like out of nowhere, suddenly they've got people who are willing to, put it out to film, which is about $10,000 to do, just in exchange for, putting their logo on the film in the credits. And, all these different people start to kind of chime in and help out. So bit by bit, like you get this big support process. So I love when I kind of see that stuff happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And with the actual, like you've got obviously you got your company as well. So, I mean, I'm kind of curious about your process, like, for you to balance all this stuff together, what's your day-to-day or week-to-week process typically look like? From balancing your day job to, having a life, beer, and
You know, to be honest, for the last 2 months, I haven't really had a life, so I missed the sun. I feel like a vampire right now. But
I was gonna say zombie would be more appropriate.
yeah, like a zombie, I need to get out and get drunk, I guess. So,
Yes.
but it's been for the last couple of months or 3 months, it's been difficult to balance it, because how it is in the day-to-day job. You always get some kind of a project taking longer time, so you do have to work overtime, and you have your own projects as well. So it's been a struggle to have the time to juggle, but it's been a lot of hours in front of the screen, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you find like you work better in the mornings or at night, like when you're doing this?
I'm really more like a night person.
You're Scandinavian, so
yeah,
it's nighttime 24 hours a day.
Yeah, yeah, at least in the winter. But yeah, I guess I'm more kind of creative during the night. But it all depends, Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I figure like let's talk about more the technical aspects of the film. I'd love to kind of go in kind of more shot by shot and talk about it all. But initially, what tools did you use? I know obviously Maya and everything else, but like if you want to go through some of the tools that you used for getting all this stuff out.
Yeah, so I'm primarily based in Maya, and I've been like for the last 12 or 13 years at least. So I'm a Maya patriot, I guess, even though it crashes 10 times a day.
Don't worry, I think they all do at this point.
Yeah, yeah.
They copied each other's features so much, they're actually copying the crashing features too.
Yeah. I knew there was something to it. So, I both hate and love Maya, but yeah, I'm probably Maya-based, of course, using the Redshift render and, a lot of, basic scripts and stuff. I used a lot of IvyGen, the free program to make a lot of the Ivy stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm also this old Fusion patriot.
Actually, I noticed that. I had a look in your Vimeo and I was like, oh, goddamn.
Yeah. I feel like I'm alone in Norway using Fusion, and I stand with a flag, at the top of some mountain and desperately yelling, Fusion, go! So
you go into the Norwegian Fusion chat room and it's you.
Hello, yeah. Basically, so all of the guys at the office use Nuke, and all of the VFX or post guys, I guess, are using Nuke. Nuke is great, but I always just loved Fusion, and I've been using it for like 10 years. So it's really a good friend, yeah. So
I like Fusion a lot. I'm Nuke these days, but I grew up on Fusion for the longest time, and it still holds up. And the fact that it's free right now is also another major bonus.
I think it's really nice that Blackmagic acquired Fusion, because maybe they can develop it further and maybe regain some traction against Nuke. I hope so, at least.
Cool. And Adobe, I'm sure will pick it up.
I'm sure, like everybody else.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, the standard packages like Photoshop and After Effects and some Premiere stuff, and I actually mastered and mixed a lot of sound in the free. What's it called? Audacity.
Audacity. That program crashes for me all the time. I cannot use it because I've done a few like voiceover sessions where I've got an hour of stuff and I just lose it like that, just because it kills me. So
yeah.
But okay, cool.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. So obviously, I mean, that's pretty affordable, all the tools you're using. I mean, Fusion's free, Audacity's free, IvyGen's free, Redshift, is that commercial yet, or is it still in beta? Or
it's commercially available, but it's pretty nice priced, But not really a lot of fancy tech, I guess. But I've never been kind of more, technical. I've been always wanting to produce, kind of, short movies or more like a complete thing than just as we talked about in the start and in the beginning, like small tests and stuff. More into like kind of more lately into more directing and stuff. I find it very cool.
Yeah, no, I kind of figure I'm kind of curious to see where things go with this. I mean, I've got a friend of mine, Rory Robinson. He put together a short film, Leviathan. It just came out a few weeks back.
Oh, yeah. It's awesome.
And so I mean, I'm going to have him on the podcast pretty soon, actually, to talk about it, because that's now been greenlit to be a feature film, and it happened almost overnight.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, you know, I love the fact that, like, he's directed feature films before, but, like, this time around, rather than trying to pitch a script and try and get it greenlit, because I've been in that process a few times where there's a script, it's, you know, Fox or Warner Brothers is, like, right on the verge of doing it, and then someone gets promoted or whatever, and the next person has no interest in it. And, you know, it's just a funny game, but, like, when you put out something publicly that gets a lot of traction, like Deadpool, they just finished shooting that about a week and a half ago in Vancouver. Awesome. And again, like, it's by having stuff, you know, out there, you know, you're essentially able to see the customer base or the viewers or potential customers. So it's a good way to say, okay, look, people want it. Give me, you know, 50 million and let me go make it. So But,
I remember seeing the Deadpool thingy. It was awesome.
That's got such a funny history, that whole project. But I mean, it's great to kind of see it come to reality. So cool. I love it.
Yeah,
and so I guess, like, starting out with I am going to go shot by shot, or pretty much, but, like, with the laptop scene. So is that entirely CG or?
You know, at the last minute, I got, another mail from the Swedes, you know, the party Swedes, saying that, hey, we can shoot a live-action hand for you. Cool. And that was awesome, because that was one of the things I really struggled with the shot, because my asset was not really that great, and it looked more like a rubber hand. So I really hated that shot, and so I think it, you know, kind of solved it. Having some live action in the shots really saved it, I think.
Yeah, I like the shot, and I figured it was live action. I wanted to check because, I mean, the cool thing too is that a shot like that, you know, any hand animation's usually quite subtle, and animating stuff like that. Again, I'm not an animator, but it's something you're always going to deal with. Things feeling too mechanical. So I mean, I think the shot worked really well. And I guess you did After Effects for all the awesome Space Invaders motion graphics on the screen.
It's actually in Fusion, but I really no experience before. Like I used a lot of the 3D capabilities in Fusion to get some fire plates in there and replace the laptop screen and stuff. So all of the stuff in the shot is created in Fusion. Oh,
cool! So you actually put a lot of the elements in 3D space inside of Fusion.
Yeah, really.
Cool. That's great. Yeah. I was working with the Blur guys. We're using Fusion, and there was kind of mixed feelings, I think, with doing 3D in there, just for whatever reasons. But I've never touched the 3D features inside of Fusion. Nuke I have, but but that's great, man. That's really cool, and I like that because I think that a lot of people still try and do everything in 3D, as in inside of Maya Max, and it's kind of, you know, to do that anytime you need to make any changes, you have a lot less control. So
it's a pain. So it works out quite well. And if you need to make the changes, kind of just swap the texture or just move the plate. And I tried to cheat a lot, basically.
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, it's being efficient. And I'm just curious. So, like, you're using Redshift for all the rendering. What kind of render hardware did you have? As in, like, did you literally have one machine? And if you do, then I hate you. It's pretty mind blowing. But like, what was your hardware setup?
You're off.
I officially hate you. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. It's one machine with 4 GPUs in it.
Mm-hmm.
And so the whole project was rendered on my workstation. Really.
Yep.
So that's a first for me.
Yeah.
But it worked out very well.
So 4 GPUs, you're saying 4 cards?
4 cards, yeah.
Yep. And what cards were they?
GTX 780 Ti, like the last gen top end card or something. But basically I have this kick-ass gaming rig in my basement with these LED lights blinking when I'm rendering. And, I feel like putting some techno music on and some glow sticks,
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, but yeah.
I was at a Q&A session with John Knoll from ILM a few months back, and he'd mentioned that basically they're getting rid of a lot of the older render hardware at ILM just because a lot of it now is actually costs more to run than what they would get from it. So he decided that he would take all the machines, like all the front faces of them, and basically take them all apart and put them on his wall and rig up all the LED lights. Which I don't know. For me, I would feel kind of claustrophobic if you're in a room that is kind of padded with machines. So it feels like you're in this big hub. But I like the idea of it at least.
Yeah, I'm going to do that in my basement. Thanks for the idea.
Yeah, no worries.
Uber geeky basement.
Don't bring any girls back. So your future wife's gonna, that'll be the test, I guess.
Yeah, I know.
So that's pretty amazing. And again, I know nothing about rendering GPU like that. That's one thing I've kind of neglected a lot, and I'm starting to actually get into a lot more now. But like, if you're using multiple cards, do you have to run SLI, like SLI, or is it just 4 cards?
Yeah, it just uses each GPU separately. It kind of splits it up into, 4 small jobs, I guess.
Cool. And so rendering everything, what were the render times like for like a typical frame?
In the establishing computer shot, it was like, 2 minutes a frame.
Jeez.
In I'm rendering at 440p. With, motion blur and depth of field and all that kind of juicy stuff. With, that's also with brute force GI. So it's kind of badass.
Yeah, and you're using V-Ray?
V-Ray? No, Redshift.
Oh, shit. Sorry.
Allan!
My brain
have to edit the shit out of this now.
No, I'm going to keep it in. I don't mind. Yeah, no, sorry. My brain switched off for a second. I was thinking, I actually got stuck on, you mentioned that you're doing your depth of field in 3D. So yeah, my brain just kind of came back to reality, right after that. So yeah, sorry. So yeah, obviously Redshift dub. You were actually doing all your depth of field in 3D rather than in post?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious about that because obviously that's going to crank render times up a little bit more. But if you're doing 2 minutes a frame, then I guess it's not that big a deal.
No, it's not an issue. And I really wanted to have some main renders look as good as they can be, and not relying on saving the shot in post basically.
Yeah.
So I tried to get that quality into the render, and just massaging the picture at the end, I guess.
No, that's great, man. And just kind of curious about the render passes. I mean, what would the first wide shot right after all the zombies running and everything? It's kind of more of an establishing shot. Like with that, for instance, what are the typical render passes you would put out? Both render passes as well as render elements.
I tried to keep it, being a single guy project and one machine and all that. I tried to keep the passes to a minimum. So it's basically some selection passes and the good old setup pass, and basically a main pass. That's all to it. And so some additional elements like particles and leaves and stuff. But basically, I tried to, the whole chase sequence is actually one giant set in, one Maya scene.
Yep.
So I tried to keep it all in there so I can, do a lot of updates and kind of put the shot on submit it at the night and have a new kind of a daily in the morning. Yeah,
that's great. Yeah, with all the effects, like, is that like what did you use? Like, how much was stock, and how much did you make custom elements for the shots?
It's a mix. I relied quite heavily on Andrew Kramer's, the famous Andrew Kramer stock footage thingy. I actually got a mail from Andrew Kramer yesterday, so
Cool.
I put in the mail. I'm going to brag that I got a mail from you. So there, I said it. So yeah, but
Awesome.
anyway, a lot of the stock material came from a Video Copilot. I also used a lot of stock from what's it called, Motion VFX, and some elements from Pond 5. Because, going out and filming all of the stock blades myself and keying them and all of that crap would take me forever. So, just get it done, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And, that's what I kind of love is Video Copilot's got such great resources for that. It's definitely means you can focus on doing the job rather than, trying to hunt down, assets all over the web and everywhere else or do them yourself. So that's great.
Yeah. Yep.
Cool, man. And so you're using IvyGen for a lot of the vines and everything, but in general, I was going to jokingly say to use Paint Effects, but I'm just kidding. But
I use a lot of Paint Effects.
You did actually use it?
Yeah.
So you're converting all the geometry.
This awkward pause in the.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
And then you're like, I use Artisan for all the
and
detailing.
TrueSpace for the backdrop. And
that's right.
I actually used the Paint Effects for quite an amount of, the grass and mushrooms and a lot of plants and crap. That's quite small in the frame and I can hide away somehow. But a lot of Paint Effects actually.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny actually how I think this is the third podcast in a row that someone's name dropped TrueSpace. So.
I actually listened to the last one.
Oh, really?
And I was kind of laughing because I also the first 3D program I got into was TrueSpace. I think 2.0 or something.
Oh man.
Good times.
Yeah. I think I saw it on like the cover of a magazine one day, and like I never really got into it too much, but it it was something I dabbled in a little bit. I started in like Povray, which was more command line back then, and not too pretty.
Hardcore stuff.
Well, it's kind of funny, but if you actually look up Povray now, like there's people still using it and doing some like really amazing stuff with it. So it's definitely grown over the years. But I guess it is pretty hardcore.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, that's cool, man. That's really cool. And yeah, I'm kind of surprised about the Paint Effects comment. But hey, got to use the oldies with the goodies.
But I really tried to just like I said earlier, just get it fucking done. Use small tricks and getting stuff thrown in there and combining them with stock elements and some custom stuff and whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. And for all the fracturing stuff, like, did you obviously use fracture effects for it? Did you kind of do your homework and kind of decide on what you wanted to use, or had you previously been using that?
Well, I actually had some patience to do some search on various techniques. Like I said, I'm really no sim guy, and I found fracture FX being great for my kind of stuff because it's kind of fracture light. I guess you can go into more detail, but it worked very well for me, and I love the fact that you have this. This takes menu. You can do all this kind of test and take and bake it direct out to Alembic, and it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like Kevin and the guys, they're really supportive as well. And, I think, I do think that Houdini and a few of the other packages have they've got some really amazing kind of dynamic ways of working. So I do feel like out of the options in Maya, you've only got a few selected tools you can use, but I do really like fracture effects just because it kind of feels like more of a linear approach to doing things, but you can still set up a lot of conditions and you can do a lot. And I like it. I think it's pretty powerful. So that's really cool.
And just being able to, fracture some objects. Have you used the fracture in Maya, the good old fracture built in Maya?
Oh god, I have, and you know what? It's actually erased from my brain. I vaguely remember.
I think, when the dinosaur roamed, I think they programmed the fracture,
That's right.
So it works if you have a cube and don't look at Maya. If you touch the fracture button, it might work,
Back when Paint Effects was still used.
Oh, yeah. In my face, yeah.
Yeah, the original fracture stuff, I God, it's starting to come back to me. Like, yeah, I do remember like having to set how you would set it all up and everything else, but it was kind of not that amazing. But I mean, that's the cool thing is at least fracture effects. You can do Voronoi fracturing. You can set up a lot of conditions so that way things can fracture a second time. There's a lot of really cool stuff. So I'm kind of digging it, and it's fast. That's one thing I really like about it.
Yeah, fast and quite simple. Even I understand it, so it's going to be quite easy to use, I guess.
It has Norway's approval.
Oh yeah.
I love the actor or the talent that you guys got for doing the shoots because he's like shooting because he's so intense.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's great.
I think he did a great job. I was laughing so hard at the set, so I was kind of worried if my laugh would pick up, by the microphone on his waist. So
that's cool.
Yeah, he was great.
How did you animate the characters? Did you literally just animate them, like through cycles, or do you actually do some mocap and splice it all up?
Basically, they are just running, loops, stock Mixamo characters.
You know what? I was going to mention, like, when I said Adobe was buying shit, the Mixamo got bought yesterday from Adobe.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to email them just to say congrats, because, I think they've got so much potential, and it's going to waste at the moment, so... Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So you were using Mixamo. You realize they have like a zombie preset for animation, right?
Yeah. They're stock characters. I did some, minor modifications, and I kind of, optimized them, removing some stuff and resizing textures, and a lot of them needed some tweaks. But basically, they are just stock characters thrown in there. And I pray to God, help me motion blur and depth of field, and put them really small in the frame to
No, it works. It really works. Cool. So I mean, how long do you think you spent like animating a lot of the crowd shots of zombies?
I use a system called I know it's French, I think, Gulaim crowd.
Well, you're French now because I said your name wrong.
Lavvold, Allan. It's kind of the same thing now.
Yeah.
Because I got permission to use the trial version of Gulaim to use on my project. So I had some, really, really basic crowd simulation stuff. Basically all the zombies are just running all the time, but I had a target they would run after, and I would bake them out and put them in the master file.
That's great.
And obviously a lot of them are also, basically manually, placed out and stuff. But it's a mix of those two.
Mm-hmm. Great, man. How do you spell Gulam? And again, I'm Aussie, so I'm gonna like dumb everything down.
Gula, Gole.
Okay, Gola.
Yeah, GolaAiem, I think. I can send you a link.
Okay, yeah, sweet. Because I'm definitely going to spell it wrong, but no, that sounds great. I'll definitely check it out. Okay, sweet.
It's like if you've been into my army for Maya. Yeah, it's like a version of that, but actually works, So I tried Mi Army, and it's the GUI is just messed up. I mean, so yeah, it worked out pretty well. It's a pain to set up the character and stuff, to be honest, but when it's done, it works really well.
Mm-hmm. Great, man. That's really cool. And I was curious. I mean, I'm going to pick your brain a little bit more about this stuff, but like. For building all the environments, so you started out with like basic assets, but I mean, there's a shit ton of stuff in there. I mean, I think that's probably the first thing, even with the work in progress stuff, that caught my attention is just the lighting as well as just the depth of the shots. I mean, they look phenomenal. So,
thanks.
You're welcome. They'll be $5.
Yeah. Fuck.
But I mean, how long did it typically take you to make these environments, and how many environments are there?
That's a kind of a tricky question because started with basically if you are talking about the chase sequence, I typically start out with having a plan in my head, and
well, that's good. I'm glad that you had at some
a plan
point
in my head. Oh yeah, director of the year 2015. Jesus.
You're the Jay-Z of directing. He's typically one who just goes in the booth and starts doing his thing. So you're like, just start shooting. I'll get back to you.
Great, the retarded guy from Norway. Yeah. So anyway, so I kind of planned, a way the car would drive, and I just blocked out the sets very early on with just boxes and, trying to get some layout up, basically. And from there, I would just, refine the animation and camera work and all of that things, and, putting in fine animation. And from there, beginning to swap out my dummy geometry with, more kind of ARRI stuff. So it's difficult to say because, being one large set, I could, work a while on one shot and start another, and I would take the new assets used in the other shot back to the first one, and trading between the shots. A lot of asset work for sure. It was a pain, but so I try to also, as a side note, I use Redshift has this really great and easy proxy system.
Okay, great.
That would, basically
kind of like V-Ray proxy.
I'm
being a dick.
Keeping stuff as low res as I could, was a really big factor to being able to, set dress this stuff.
Yeah. I like that though. I mean, I think it's a really good way to work. Is that you essentially work in broad strokes. You get everything in there. You start to see where your eye is going to go, and you kind of work backwards. You essentially, if you're like, okay, well, I'm looking over here more. Here's where the attention is. Then you start to pull the detail in there and kind of work backwards. So that's great.
And a lot of the assets like the cars, the static cars and so on, were really low res kind of assets. So I try to as you say, lead the eye away. Don't look at the ugly asset.
You're a zombie doing a happy dance to the screen.
Yeah, the solution was, an ugly asset. I'll put some, foliage or grass or stuff over it, and hiding it. So,
Cool, man. No, that's good. I like that. I like that process. And with the cars, like falling, smashing, all that kind of stuff, like how what did you use to go through that process?
I used Maya's good old Encloth.
Yep, great.
Basically, it worked out pretty well.
Encloth's awesome.
Yeah. Cool. Just did a lot of variations and baked them out, and basically then moved them into place and some manual keying afterwards. But it was fairly quickly done. Mm-hmm. Yeah, cool. And also, of course, all the debris, smashing upwards afterwards. I faked a lot of it, but basically, just emit a lot of dummy geometry to simulate impact stuff.
Hey, if it works, I mean, all that stuff like really adds depth. I mean, that's one thing I love is that there isn't really that much like negative space. Like, there's no clean areas. Like, it's really got a lot going on. So, even if you got some confetti systems of leaves and debris, hey, it works.
Yeah.
Cool. This is great. And I guess we can talk about the foliage stuff. I mean, was it easy to go about rigging the giant bean stalk hands and all that good stuff?
Once again, I tried to keep it very simple. So really it was just a bunch of curves, with tubes being animated, and an animated extrude, basically. Mm-hmm. And some, constraining and rivet constraints and stuff, and really trying to hide it in, a lot of smoke and debris and stuff. But a fairly basic setup.
Cool. Yeah. That's great. And I'll just kind of do the last thing here about like the car rigging and everything else, which is standard rigging, or did you actually use any plugins?
No, I'm really a lousy rigger, but it's basically a lot of, constraining and and basic controls. But I also try to keep the car quite dynamic. In terms of having the doors and the mirrors and all the kind of stuff juggling around, with a lot of noise in it. So I try to kind of automate all kind of secondary animation to keep it dynamic and not just this stiff car driving around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's awesome, man.
And also the poor guy on the top, the CG, is just basically constrained, and I put some noise deformer in his spline.
Nice.
So so just kind of it looks like he's having some kind of a Caesar. It's just juggling all around, but it worked out quite okay, I guess.
Yeah, it works, man. It really, really works. That's great. I mean, how do you feel about it all now? I know we're talking like I think a few hours before you made it public, and I think you were kind of like, is it any good? Because I can't tell anymore.
yeah, but it is. When you work for stuff, so long, you kind of get blind, and it's hard to be objective, and it's a mind job, and being, sure that, is this any good? Am I blind or am I, So it was kind of intimidating to put it out there, but I guess it worked out. I actually, on a side note, I think the breakdown of the project is way better than the trailer itself. so I'm kind of disappointed, being, the breakdown getting a few less hits, so to say, than the trailer. But it's cool.
Well, I will say that there is a shit ton of stuff you put out, and even continue, going through the process and everything too. So, as you were working, so I mean, I definitely think that people should definitely go and check out the breakdowns afterwards as well, because there's a lot of really great material in there.
Thanks.
Cool. How did it feel? I'm just kind of curious, like when you finally published it for the first time, at that moment when you're like, okay, my baby's out, I'm vulnerable, and
I'm putting myself out there. It was a mixed emotion, I guess, because being worked on it for so long, you have some thoughts on how it will kind of perform, and doubts, is it gonna be, well received, or are people gonna, fuck, what is it? What is this? So mixed emotion, but it's kind of a relief to, getting it out there, and still, reading all the comments, and I'm really grateful for them, and reading, people writing, oh, god damn, it's awesome, and fucking, hyping the project. It's kind of weird to look at them, because when I see the trailer now, I don't think it looks so good, But then again, being, worked for it so long, so
I'm sure Spielberg is like fucking Jaws. I'm sick of seeing this goddamn movie.
Yeah, but I only see the errors, the faulty, this one fucking zombie, at the end of the sequence. This one kind of college guy. All of the other are following the car, but this one dumb zombie is just just jogging, some silently straight forward, So I see all of those kind of things, but hey, it works.
It's always the case. Like I've been at bars in the middle of the night drunk, and I look at the screen and a commercial I worked on comes on, and I'm like, the compositor screened that element, those fuckers. Or they use version 4 instead of version 6. Like I went all mad on that one. Yeah, it's always the case.
Yeah, it's a curse, I think.
Yeah. But honestly, man, it's turned out great. I think it's been really cool, and I don't know, like. I have a feeling that you've learned a lot on this project, but I mean, what are some of the big things that you kind of learned or discovered about yourself working on this?
Like
that can be both a technical thing, like I learned how to use paint effects, but it can, but at the same time, like I guess let's talk about technical first. I mean, what were some of the big things that you learned along the way with doing this, whether it's to do with more, setting up shots or doing the editorial or whatever it's going to be. But is there? I don't know.
I guess I really did some research into using Maya's scene assembly function.
Mm-hmm.
For all of the city blocks, they were basically assembly file for those.
Great.
And I also used some, GPU caches to have a nice frame rate, even though a lot of the building blocks were visible, and I could, place and set dress having the GPU's cache on there, and a lot of being used to work with proxies, I guess, and some modeling things, but again. It's just all these things, It's hard to pick out some single things, but I actually learned some Maya fluids, and that's being a Maya user for so long, it's kind of weird so not having used it before. But I used Maya fluids for a couple of shots.
Yeah,
and it's okay, I guess. I wish. Redshift, though, were able to render fluids, because that's a real limitation right now.
Right, so you have to render in software and comp it in?
Yeah, Mckay, and I just get the shivers just saying Mckay. So, and that's always going to be an issue, with motion blur, with objects and fluids and all of that. I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's always tricky too if you're using multiple renderers, because even depth of field, but motion blur too, all that stuff is never going to line up perfectly.
No.
So, yeah, it's always tricky. And I love Mckay, but it's definitely a resource hog more than I think most things out there. Especially if you're doing more GPU stuff, then it's like, oh god, I got to render some Mckay now.
Yeah. But also, being really comfortable using a GPU renderer, and a lot of optimizing in terms of, getting good render times. And I also did a lot of research into camera work. I always been into making these kind of, cinematic angles and trying to get the most out of my sets and, shots and that stuff. But,
how did you? I'm kind of curious about that. I mean, if I were to say my biggest weakness in 3D, it's definitely camera stuff. And luckily, I typically work in live action, so it's more about you work with the DP, and that's their job, and it's great. But I mean, what did you learn? Like, how did you change or grow from how you were before you started this project to how you would typically do your shots now or block them out now? Knowing that you've kind of learned a lot more about cameras and maybe angling shots and setting them all up.
Yeah, I'm kind of, this has kind of been a kind of level up project for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I learned, a lot of, there are also basic things, keep it like Nazi Deutschland clean. It's really important.
Say that again?
Nazi Deutschland clean.
Okay, and what the hell is that?
Like, the Dutch people are really clean and, hardcore. Yeah.
Oh, right. Gotcha.
Yeah. So, keep a clean structure on the whole project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's great. I mean, that's one thing I love is the camera angles. Everything you've done is really great. Like, it really puts you in the middle of it all. So, yeah. I mean, did you do a lot in editorial? Like, were typically the shots you're doing exactly like how you rendered them out, or were you starting to like really kind of play with the edit once you got in there?
I actually use Maya's image sequencer a lot.
Okay.
Because have you checked it out?
No, I haven't.
No, it's it's a kind of a dangerous tool to use because
it'll kill you. Kidding.
yeah, instant. No, but it will. It jumps all over the timeline if you're not really keeping in mind to space out in between shots and stuff.
Right.
So But I use a lot of the camera sequencer. It's just like, making some rough edits in After Effects or Premiere or something, but you can do it directly in 3D, and I find it really, really useful because it's so fast, play around with timings and stuff. And you also, like my projects, like, keep it simple style. I would, almost all of my shots are used, the whole length, no handles or anything. That was
my other question I was going to ask, because no one likes to render handles. So if you're rendering for yourself,
it's awful.
I'm just going to quickly jump in and say, like, I don't know what it is, but there's been a lot of recent projects that I've worked on, especially with New York studios, where it's become like a big trend to do 48 frame handles.
48, the start and the end.
Yeah, 48 frames, like on each end. So not 24, like 48. Actually, no, sorry, 24 and 24, so 48 total.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's still like, I'm bidding on a project right now with some guys that I've worked with a lot, and that was one thing I brought up. Is like, if we're doing this, you guys cannot do the 24 frame head and tail, because there are shots that might be 18 frames that literally the handles are longer than the shot. Or an editorial, they're like, hey, we want to have this at the beginning and at the end we want to have this. And it's like, well, you're never going to have that because it's like 4 seconds of extra hell in there. So it blows my mind. But like, obviously, I mean, typically it's more like 8 frames is what you're going to work with. And but yeah, if you're doing it for yourself, I kind of imagine if I were to do like my own project, and then like handles would just go out the door,
Yeah, I hate it, and so many stories about the fucking handles handling projects. Where's the one frame missing in the hands? And all of the guys are just I remember sleeping all over the office. Being delivered the project, and one frame on the handle missing, and all of the guys just panic and
Well, it's kind of true though. Like there. I will defend handles and say that the times that the edit does change, even if it's like we want an extra 10 frames, that can sometimes be like a week of work, because everyone has literally got to go in and redo what they got to do, and half the time animation mightn't even exist. There's a lot of stuff, so I guess it's better to have it than not, but still, fuck handles.
I know, but I also I understand it, because if you want to slightly shift the shot or something, it's really helpful to those guys who don't need to create it. So,
that's really great.
Yeah, it's pain. Yeah,
and I'm just kind of curious about like when you first started out. So I guess True Space was your friend for a while, but like,
oh yeah,
how did you first get into 3D, and how did you kind of figure out like where your path was leading?
So it's kind of funny, because I got True Space for remember the old magazine with the kind of a demo CDs.
Yeah, that's exactly how I came across it.
For those of us lucky enough to have a CD-ROM drive back in the days.
What is a CD?
No, I know.
Remember the floppy disks?
Oh yeah, I had those. I remember having Duke Nukem on 38 floppies, I think.
Oh God. Well, I remember having 3D Studio DOS on 14 floppies, and like floppy disks would always go bad after a while. They get dust and scratch, and so all it takes is like 2 hours of installing, and then like bad read error sector. Or whatever. Bad sector.
Yeah,
and then you'd be like pulling out ScanDisk, like praying to God it can fix it.
I remember that. Okay, pain and agony. But I got into I to be honest, I thought it was some kind of play around with basic primitives, and I thought it was some kind of a paint program at first. I was like 13 or 14 years old, I guess, and I remember taking all of those primitives and stacking them on top and building castles and pens and whatnot, and one day I actually in the right bottom corner in 2Space you have this little widget that you could rotate the camera with.
Okay.
So I would rotate the camera, and all of my scenes were just fucked up because all of the objects were just scattered all around, but they matched up in this one perspective. So I just thought, oh wow, this is 3D. you know.
That's where your depth of field won't work too well.
Yeah. So I guess from that point on, I just played around with it, and I remember also back in those days, Caligari had these online competitions each month, and you could submit your artwork. And pray to God it would win some stuff or some honorable mention and stuff. And from there, I won some competition.
Awesome.
copy of True Space 4, and and a RTE fire something shit screen card. And being 14 years old and getting this huge package from America, to Mr. Alf Lavvold, as you call it.
I'm never gonna live this down.
Yeah. It was, back then it was, a huge thing for me. And from there, I just, I was stuck with 3D. But
I'm going to interrupt for 1 sec and just to make you feel better, I'm going to tell you that my last name's Mckay. It's not Mckay. And the thing is that I just got so used in the States where there's even a town in Australia called Mckay. And but then I go to the States and I would go visit Blur and all these other places, and people would come up hey, I know who you are, and I'd be oh, okay, hi, I'm Alan Mckay, nice to meet you, and they're no, you're Alan Mckay, and people would actually tell me how to say my own name, and it's just no, I think I know how to say my own name. So the thing is, after a while, I would go to a meeting or something, and I'd say I'm Alan Mckay, and after maybe 30 seconds, they'd be wait, are you Alan Mckay? And I'm yes, okay. And so I do remember I was in New York one time, and I was doing a talk, and I introduced myself as Alan Mckay, and that ended up finding its way onto YouTube. And I had all these people on Facebook being dude, you sold out, and I'm I know, I sold out. So yeah, after a while, I just I give up. I'm Alan Mckay. So yeah, now Lavvold will be you, okay?
Yeah, so that will be my story now. Al Mckay made me sell out,
So
I'm French. Yeah,
I just want to make you feel a bit better now that you're French.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so sorry, but that's really cool. And so from there, after getting even, I mean, it's kind of great if even at the beginning of your career you're getting that kind of recognition.
Yeah, it was kept me on my toes, and I wanted to learn new things, but then actually I quit school when I was 16, and
cool. Join the club. That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. So I started actually working as a web designer for some years, and actually I think a lot of my animation background, the basic feel for timing and stuff, actually roots back to using Flash.
Wow, okay. I thought you were going to say for making web pages, and I couldn't see the connection.
No, but I was animating a lot of 2D and, fake 3D stuff in Flash, and also incorporating some 3D work in my Flash pages. So
I use Macromedia Director, so kind of similar hell.
Yeah. So, I guess, some kudos to Flash.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, that's cool. And I guess, probably 97, 98, you started to switch over to Maya, or when did that happen?
Yeah, something like that, because, I wanted to basically, play with the big boys.
You saw Bingo, and you're oh my God.
Yeah, actually, funny you should say that. I saw it again here the other day.
Oh, really? How does it hold up? I'm kind of curious, because I remember it looking amazing, and
it was fucking amazing. All this kind of small details going on, and the character animation, and the whole thing was just mind blowing. I remember, so it kind of it's still kind of good, I guess, and like all other things, it kind of fades. But
I'll just mention for anyone who doesn't know what Bingo is. Bingo is a short film based on a screenplay that I guess Alias commissioned to do, just as far as I know of the story of it. But essentially to showcase what Maya could do, because Maya was the first package to really kind of incorporate. Well, I wouldn't say the first, but it was out of the Alias products, one to incorporate all these great features from all these very focused products of theirs, and so it was going to show off animation, motion capture, even cigarette smoke, every aspect. And at the time, like it was huge. Like it got a massive amount of attention. It was kind of like Dawn of the Stuff, but back then.
Yeah, sure. But and I also, back then, so Maya got this awesome software renderer,
Yeah, go ahead.
compared to TrueSpace, actually, I was so impressed by how the software rendered filtered textures. When the textures was far away, they would, fade out a little bit.
Well, you talking about the software renderer or the hardware renderer?
The software rendered, back in Maya 2000 or something, or Maya 8 or something, Maya 7. I don't remember, but yeah.
It's I mean, that's one thing that always kind of killed me a little bit, was the fact that you had software and hardware renderer, and like the hardware renderer was great. It essentially was GPU rendering before GPUs.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, but that was the big problem, is that like you've got there'd be things in your shot that, let's say if it was a particle, that would go into being a hardware rendered thing, and you could not actually render it software. And
that's right.
and it meant that no matter what, you had to render everything, like split it up, and then put it back together again later, and that was frustrating. But
I also want to mention, guys like Alex Alvarez in Gnomon, had all this kind of, fancy tutorials, and all of, my buddies who was into 3D, and when I started studying, was just, Alex Alvarez is the god of 3D, and he's using Maya. So, a mix of things, me stepping up to using Maya.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's kind of funny to look back then, like, to what was going on, and it's like Alex. It's kind of funny now for you to dig up his old. I was actually talking to a buddy of mine at Weta, because he mailed me. He bought all of the Dynamics suite of Gnome stuff, and he actually duplicated it. Hopefully, I don't go to jail for this. No, but he duplicated all the VHS tapes, and he mailed me this giant box of stuff. And but it's just funny because Alex, I've got to check, because he isn't that much older than us, and he's like 2 or 3 years older. So like he was really young. He would have been like around 20 when he was doing that stuff. And like it's just funny to look at him now back then compared to now, just because he's like a little kid basically on camera with the long hair talking about Maya particles and dynamics. But like the thing is, like he's definitely got a style, but he was putting out some like really great stuff even back then. So it's pretty cool. Yeah. And that's cool. Like it's kind of cool to see you kind of go from TrueSpace to Maya to kind of keep moving forward. What I was going to say is, like, I'm kind of curious, like, just from your take on things, like, for anyone either starting out or more kind of trying to find their focus on, like, where they can excel in 3D. I mean, for you doing such a vast amount of stuff, like, what do you think are probably the really crucial areas of 3D to focus on? Like, I meet some people who actually say camera stuff is probably a camera animation, and angles is more the most important aspect. I guess it depends on what your focus is, but what do you think is probably some of the areas that you think are really pivotal to learn from, the foundation of 3D?
That's a hard question, but
I know.
Fuck you. Having a basic kind of a timing and rhythm feel for things are always a good thing to have implemented, I guess. And also just taking some basic, art classes, or, learning how to do some rough sketches, or, some really basics are always, a plus to have, I think.
Cool. So more the foundations.
But I have no godlike answer. But having some roots in art, I think it can be really helpful. And roots also in real world camera. How the camera works, and different setups. Is really helpful, because the worst thing I see in kind of student works and so on is bad camera work. Yep. It just ruined the whole experience right away.
That's probably me.
These floating cameras, and if no, but the floating cameras, and if you then have a character who's poorly animated on top of that, you just pretty much screwed up for me at least.
Yeah.
So some basic timing and understanding of camera work in animation is good, and yeah,
that's great.
That's my answer. Final answer.
Surprised you didn't mention patience. Having some patience while doing this. Yeah. I'm kind of curious. Like, what did you obviously you're doing this more for fun, and it sounds like you. I almost want to say when you started this, you started with the logo of coming soon, and then kind of like worked back to the helicopter crash, and by the end of it, you got to the laptop as the final shot or something. It sounds like the process. Yeah, I'm kidding.
Actually, it is. It is.
But I mean, do you have any? If you're willing to share them, but like, do you have any more long-term goals you're hoping that this would kind of help drive you towards? I mean, I assume that in a way, this is kind of something to help you kind of build more into directing eventually and kind of going that path. But I mean, what are you hoping to gain from doing a short, other than doing it for fun and everything else, but more career-wise?
It's a funny question because, a lot of guys are commenting, about, you should start a Kickstarter, or you should develop the project, or we want to see more, fuck yeah, type of comments. And
you're sick of
it? No, it's awesome. I had, during the production, I always envision kind of some sequences or some shots or some funny things I could make, so I kind of have a rough idea about how a short or a feature film could work, the basics. But I have no, concrete plans. But I just, I have to kind of wrap my head, because the last couple of days have been pretty crazy, and I've also been getting some interesting emails from management companies to agents to producers. So it's been just kind of insane, really.
That's great.
Yeah. So it's interesting to see, but definitely it will be awesome to develop it further if it was some interest in it, and it seems like it is, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's really awesome. Yeah, I'd be surprised won't be surprised if I see you driving around in all white in a white Mercedes and doing the whole thing after that. It's sorry.
Being this asshole,
That's right.
Instant asshole. Yeah, I'm a director. Fuck you.
Yeah, you'll. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's really awesome, man. Like, and how well has it been received so far? I mean, obviously, you've got the Vimeo Staff Pick badge and everything else, and like, what else has been going on? Like, out of what you can share, I mean, how well has it been received?
Basically, like I said, it's just, starting out as a dialogue with some fancy, some guys from LA contacting me and producers, but...
Hey, if you need a couch.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
It's summertime over here, so...
Yeah. But as I said, I need to wrap my head around it, because this is an area I'm not quite familiar with. I'm used to working with a lot of directors and stuff, but not being on the forefront of it. So
yeah,
I think I need to have some eyes, think straight and take a deep breath and gather my thoughts. So I just I've gotten some scripts lately for some proposals, and it's basically it's awesome. I'm really enjoying it right now. It's my nerdy 15 minutes of fame. So.
Well, it's well deserved, and
thank you.
I will say that, like, I've got no doubt that this is going to be a really big vehicle for you to kind of move into doing some bigger stuff, and like, just you alone kind of being able to paint such a vision and add humor and everything else to it too. But like, I think that, you're going to be doing some really great stuff in the next year or two. I'm kind of interested to see where it all goes.
So, thanks, Allan. You just jinxed it,
Yeah, I totally fucked you.
Yeah, I'm going to live under a bridge in Oslo. And,
fuck you, Allan.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Director. Yeah, Mercedes my ass.
So I kind of figured too, I mean, obviously you're getting a lot of email and stuff right now. Maybe to save your precious fingers from typing too much. I mean, is there a lot of like really common questions that you get asked that maybe you want to kind of answer all in one big swoop now?
It's so basically it's a lot of fuck yeah, congrats type mails, but it's also give me some tips on how to be a better animator, a better comper, or give me some tips to complete my project, or can you be my coach, and a lot of stuff. So I have no some basic, but keep at it, because nothing comes for free. It's just I have no magic tricks. It's just hard work. That's the honest truth, really. Yeah.
That's great. And I'm just curious, like, so you do get people ask you, to mentor them and help them with their career and their work and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, it's not a lot, but maybe.
Well, now you are.
Yeah.
Inbox.
Yeah, mail me. Yeah. Want to make $1 million? Contact Alf.
Have you ever had an experience with that yourself? Like, were there ever any people in your career growing up that you could have leaned to kind of get help, or
I've always been kind of a stubborn guy, wanting to solve things on my own.
Yeah.
Kind of dumb, but also kind of a strength, I guess. But I always had this, these role models, like this good old 3D guys, kind of gurus in Norway, like Rune Spawns and a lot of the older, old school guys. But no coach, no, not really.
Yeah, I'm just kind of, it's just one of those questions that made me think of this, because I'm the same way. I never had anyone growing up that I could really kind of learn off of, and I think for the longest time in my career, I also pretty early on kind of had people coming to me at the studio saying like, hey, like, you're the guy I need to talk to, and I always felt like it's really stupid now, but I felt like at the time that suddenly I couldn't ask questions because I was meant to have all the answers, which is stupid. And I kind of regret that now. I think that I really wish early in my career I had someone that I could come to and even just pick their brain about stuff, or how do I make my stuff better. But like, how do you feel about that? Like, do you obviously you've grown yourself like the whole time, but like, do you ever wish that in hindsight there were people that you could have turned to help out?
I can relate to that, because it's, being stubborn and wanting to, I'll do it myself. It's not always the best thing to solve things. So yeah, it would be great. But, like I said, I had some role models, but I kind of wish I had something like that. Yeah.
Cool. No, just curious, really, but that's great, man. And I guess what's next?
What's next?
Sleep.
Getting a life. No, I need to take. Of course, there is some aftermath on this project, and I need to follow up. But I need to. I think it's kind of been like having two jobs for the longest time.
Well, it has.
Yeah, working double for so long, so I need to, take a break. Basically, I've been living down in the basement for so long. So, but
have you thought about going to SIGGRAPH or anything like that, or popping around and trying to shop it around to see who potentially can help you or get representation?
Yeah, it's just beginning to surface. It's just in the early stages. I need to, like I said, wrap my head around all of this, and who knows what will happen. But I see you posted that, drinks and beer at Facebook for a couple of weeks, and I was like, fuck, I'm gonna go on a plane and say hello to you guys, because having this social kind of meetings is so important and so fun.
Yeah.
So
no, it's been really great. I just wanted to do it more regularly. Like, I've hosted a few in Australia, and I've done it in LA and New York, like from time to time. But I wanted to kind of make it more of a regular thing. And it's been kind of cool. Like, we get people from Digital Domain, from Sony, NPC, the Call of Duty guys are always out drinking with us. There's people from everywhere, and it's kind of been really fun just to get such a kind of a broad amount of people come out, and it's not some formal thing. It's literally everyone's doing shots and getting completely fucked up. Like the first one, I don't remember if that says anything about the night.
That's excellent. I'm coming over next time.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
So,
but we had those meetings, quite often for some years ago when kind of the 3D thing was kind of growing in Norway and establishing itself, I guess. But it's kind of just died off. So it's too bad. But I hope they come back. Because I think it's so important, meeting, guys with similar interests and, really talented guys you can, learn from and, have this social life without, outside the office and joke around and get drunk and have fun,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think it's really important. And it's a great way to network and meet people. And I've got like a few of my friends who do like body and face scanning. Like I remember they came along, bumped into the mocap director at Blur, and suddenly they're doing stuff for Blur, like body scans and stuff like that. And like, suddenly there's like all this kind of business that generates from it, people getting jobs. I love it. I think that it's just kind of one of those things that the more you get out there and make yourself available for everyone else, the more opportunities can kind of creep up on you. So it's great.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, come over for SIGGRAPH or something in August. It'd be good to get some beers and you can see the ocean.
Yeah, it would be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool, man. All right. Well, I'll start to wrap it up. But like, man. I honestly, as I said before, like I can't wait to kind of see where this all goes. I think that it's it's literally 3 days old now. So it's just gonna keep growing, I think. But thanks, man, for taking the time out.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Okay, so again, I just want to thank Alf for participating in this. This was a lot of fun, really insightful as well. And I'd love to get some feedback in terms of the format of this. I mean, obviously, we get quite technical. We go through the software and really kind of break down the process. I'd be interested to see whether this is something that you find works really well in terms of really kind of focusing more on the process than anything else, to see whether or not it's something you would like me to kind of do a bit more of. Now, that being said, if you want to leave a comment or you want to check the show notes, I've put links to all the software we've mentioned, everything in there. If you go to www.allanmckay.com/39 for episode 39. And finally, don't forget the real review. So if you go to allanmckay.com/real review, REEL review, and that will be coming up in just over a week. So I'm really excited about that. Next episode, I am interviewing Zsolt Pogsos, but we're going to be talking about a lot of really, really cool stuff to do with career-orientated material. Zsolt is working on Independence Day 2 at the moment and has a really amazing career working all over the world, doing a lot of really cool stuff. I think this interview is going to be quite inspiring for a lot of you, including myself. So that will be coming up in episode 40. That is it for now. Go to www.allanmckay.com/39 for the show notes, and please leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you.